Hey everybody, welcome to Science Week! I have lots of fun science experiments planned for you this week. Today, we are doing an experiment that some of you might remember we did in class about density. Density is how heavy or how light an object is compared to other objects. Kind of tricky, I know, but we'll keep talking about it. In class, we did an experiment where we asked the question, what will float? Will it float or will it not float? And this is an awesome experiment for you to show your grown-ups and for you to teach them how to do it. For all of the experiments this week, I would like you to keep a science journal where you'll put your predictions, what you think will happen, your observations, what you see happening, and your conclusions, what happened in the end. So find some paper, maybe staple together a book like we do in class, or find a notebook that you already have and title it My Science Journal. Again, you'll need pages for your predictions, your observations, and your conclusions. Let's get started. You can make a chart that looks something like this one. At the top it asks, does it sink or float? And then we have columns where you can fill in the object that we're testing, your prediction, whether you think it will sink or float, and then your observation. In the observation column, you might choose to draw a picture of what you see. Remember, today you get to be the scientist and teach your grown-ups how to do this experiment. All that you'll need is a clear jar or container, some plain water, and your science journal so you can take your observations. And any of the objects that you are going to test, whether they sink or float. Remember, sinking means the object goes to the bottom of the water. Floating means the object stays at the top of the water. Today I'm going to test, what should I test? Gonna go look around my house. I'll be back. Okay, I found some things to test. I'm going to ask, does oil float in water or does it sink? How about a pretzel? Or this rose quartz rock that I found in my yard. And some kibble of my dog's food. First, you're going to take your water and your jar and pour the water carefully and slowly into your jar. Uh-oh, I need more water. Awesome. Now, you can choose whether you'd like to do lots of different jars with only one object in each jar, or you can do like me and put all your objects in the same jar. Up to you. First up, oil. Do you think it will sink to the bottom or float? I have olive oil here. Pause the video now and make your predictions in your science journal. Will olive oil sink to the bottom of the water or float to the top? Awesome! Did you make your predictions about what you think will happen? Remember, today we're talking about density. And density is whether something is heavier or lighter than another thing. So in this experiment, we're going to find out, is olive oil heavier or lighter than water? If it's heavier, it will sink to the bottom of the water. If it's lighter than the water, it will stay at the top. Let's see. How cool! Let's have an instant replay. Pause the video here and write down the observations of what you see happening in your journal. Notice that the olive oil has stayed at the top of the water. That means that olive oil is lighter than water, and water is heavier than olive oil. Let's see if we can use our new vocab. That means that the olive oil is less dense than the water, and the water is more dense than the olive oil. Confusing, I know, but we'll keep working on it. What's next? Okay, let's try the rock from my garden. What do you think will happen when I drop the rock into the water? Stop the video now and make your prediction in your science journal. Will the rock float at the top of the water or sink to the bottom of the water? Did you make your predictions? Awesome. Ready? Look, the rock sunk to the bottom of the water. That means the rock is heavier than the water, and the rock has more density. It is more dense than the water is. How cool, were you right in your predictions? Pause the video here and write down the observations of what you see happening in your journal. Okay, so we've got olive oil, water, and a rock in here. The rock seems to be the most dense object so far because it's at the bottom. Then the water is kind of a medium density, and the oil is the lightest density. What's next? How about a pretzel? Pause the video here and write down your predictions about what you think will happen in your science journal. Are you back? Awesome. Let's see what happens when I put a pretzel into our mixture. Hard to see, but it looks like, can you see the pretzel in there? Looks like the pretzel has stayed at the top, is floating at the top. So that means the pretzel is less dense than the water. The pretzel is lighter than the water, so it stays at the top of the water. Take a moment to write down your observations in your science journal of what you see. Okay, last up, we've got some kibble. Hope my dog's not mad. Pause the video and make a prediction. What will happen when I put the kibble into the water? Do you think it will float at the top or sink to the bottom? Are you back? All right, let's do this. It looks like the kibble stayed at the top. It floated at the top of the water. That means that the kibble is lighter than the water, or has less density than the water does. That's all the objects I have, but you could test anything in your house if your grown-ups say it's okay. You could try toys, or foods, or anything else you can think of. Don't forget to record it in your science journal, and take a final observation of what you see. You might even choose to draw a picture with crayons or colored pencils so that you remember exactly what it looks like. Don't forget to write down or talk about with a grown-up what conclusions you drew from this. What did you learn? What did we think about? What did we discover? Way to go, you're a scientist. See you later.